We start in Buffalo, where the Bills jumped out to a 21-0 lead, messed around for the next 20 minutes or so, then stepped on the gas, and they did it with Josh Allen playing at a high level, the type of level that the Bills are going to need to get past their next opponent. The old Kansas City Chiefs coming to town, but there'll be plenty of time to dissect that matchup later. For now, let's talk about how different this Bills team is than the one that was going 6-6 into the bye and have now won 6 straight. Breech, what were your impressions of what you saw from this Bills team today? And more importantly, do you feel like you can trust Josh Allen to be good, Josh, for the next month or so?
Well, first, Wilson, I would just like to send my condolences to you.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And really everyone in the entire state of Pennsylvania, because what a nightmare day for the old Keystone State with the Steelers and Eagles both losing. You go from having 2 teams in the playoffs to no teams in the playoffs. But I'm sure you'll talk about the Steelers and their future in a second. With the Bills, I think we were kind of talking about this a little bit last week, where if Josh Allen, we saw it in week 18, where he plays hero football, turns the ball over, things get crazy, and you're like, well, if he plays like that in the playoffs, they're going to lose. And then we saw second half Josh Allen go off against the Dolphins, no turnovers, play like Superman, and they run away with a win. And if that Josh Allen shows up in the playoffs, then you like their chances, not just to get out of the wild card round, but to maybe get to the Super Bowl. And so that really felt like the Josh Allen. He didn't try to do anything crazy in this game. He had a couple absolutely absurd throws, a couple of his touchdown passes where you're just kind of, you drop your jaw and just appreciate it. I mean, that's all you can do. After the George Pickens fumble, he had the one play, 29-yard drive with the 29-yard TD pass to Dalton Kincaid. It was just fun watching him play today, and I haven't even brought up the fact that he had one of the craziest runs you'll ever see by a quarterback with the fake slide.
Whoop-de-whoop.
Steelers players like, oh, he's sliding, let's get away, and then he kind of creeps through a hole and goes 52 yards for a touchdown. And so, man, if Josh Allen plays the way he did today, smart football, totals 4 touchdowns, nearly 300 yards of total offense, they can beat anyone. That's how I feel. And I think Brinson does because he loves the Bills more than anyone. Weren't they your preseason pick to get to the Super Bowl, even though they're my Super Bowl draft team?
To win the Super Bowl. I have the Bills over the 49ers. We have, 8 teams left? And, I mean, Ravens would have, I think if you redrafted it right now, it would be Niners 1, Ravens 2, or Bills 2? Would you go Bills 2 or Ravens 2 if you were redrafting right now? Like, I mean, I guess you go Ravens because you get the Texans instead of the Chiefs. But the Bills look like the best. Like, the Bills are the scariest team, right? That's what we talked about for weeks leading up to the playoffs. Was okay. The Bills have kind of like effed around with their food a little bit and have had some weird luck in some of these games all season long. But if they get to the playoffs, they are the team that no one wants to play. I mean, that's what we called the Bills from weeks, I'm trying to think, week 14 maybe on.
They were 6-6 going into their bye. They came out and they won that game against the Chiefs. And that's when one person on this podcast said,
week 14,
I think the Bills can make the playoffs. And 2 people on this podcast laughed at that other person, but I don't want to name
and then you oddly like bailed on the Bills and let me take the Bills back. They won their final 5 games of the regular season after losing, and they should have beaten the Eagles going into the bye in week 12. They haven't lost since Thanksgiving, basically the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Josh Allen has had some ups and downs, but mostly ups. Really, the only down was that game against Miami when they had already clinched a playoff spot and were no longer a win, and you have to win to get in sort of situation. And man, it does feel, and I'll be curious to see what the mentality is versus the Chiefs. And you can kind of guess what the spread is. It's pretty obvious. But the difference in playing the Chiefs versus playing, and all the sort of PTSD and psychological damage from 13 seconds and Mahomes winning. This is Mahomes' first road game, by the way, and first road playoff game in his career. This game to me felt like, and Wilson, I sort of got the vibe from you as a Steelers fan in chat, like, hey, wasn't really expecting to win this game. Josh Allen came into it. The Bills came into it going, okay, we're playing a defense with no TJ Watt against a team that we know can't score on us. Don't do anything stupid. Convert enough third downs. Get 21 points on the board, and we're probably winning this. They end up 24 first downs. Just go 5 of 12 on third down, but 2 or 3 in the red zone, and 5.6 yards per play to 5.1 yards per play. Yeah, I think a lesser team could have easily fallen to the Steelers team, but the Bills just sort of did what they had to do, right?
Yeah, I thought the Bills balled out. Go ahead, Breach.
I was going to ask you, Wilson, at what point as a Steelers fan were you like, okay, well, this game's over? And don't say as soon as the Steelers got off the bus.
No. And it's funny you say that because I'll start with this. This game to me felt like Chiefs-Dolphins, and no offense to producer Harry, but in that the Dolphins were undermanned and had a huge hill to climb. And that's why I wasn't putting too much in the Chiefs win in terms of what it means going forward, in much the same way.
It's a really good
the Bills
comp.
are playing well. But we'll find out. They got to play each other. But in terms of how I felt about this game, I enjoyed it. And Harry sent me a message in our little group chat, and privately he said, "Hey, at least you gave the Bills a fight." And my response was, "I don't even mind these games. I had zero expectations, and it's just gravy to be playing in the playoffs." Is what I wrote. And I said, what I used to hate and used to really make me angry was when Big Ben would throw 4 interceptions in these games when they were supposed to win. This is just I described them as a plucky team. I thought it was fun watching Mason Rudolph not be terrible. And look, when your biggest problem is George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth fumbling the ball, that means that things are going worst case scenario, and it's not the quarterback. TJ Watt didn't play. The defense struggled to tackle. Breach, you talked about how good Josh Allen was in the open field and that touchdown, in addition to the throws that he made. They provided balance. And look, I'll say this. We thought at the time when Sean McDermott fired Ken Dorsey that he was just overreacting to trying to point the finger at someone. Turns out Joe Brady, also William Mary Lum, has balanced out that offensive attack. He's allowed James Cook to be part of that team, even when he makes some mistakes. He didn't make any mistakes in this game. And the issue is, and producer Harry noted about this, and we'll talk about this in a second, they did have some injuries in this game, but everyone's hurt. But for the moment, I think this was best case scenario in terms of the way they played. They started strong. They finished strong.